For nearly 5 decades, the doors to one room in America's most famous mansion remained sealed. Tourists, fans, journalists, even family members were kept out. Behind that locked door, deep beneath the iconic halls of Graceland, lay a hidden space that hadn't been touched since 1977. A space frozen in time, preserved by silence and secrecy. And now, after 48 years, it's been opened. Not by an archivist or a museum team, but by Elvis Presley's own granddaughter, Riley Keough. What she found down there is already sending shockwaves through the Presley family and the wider world. Some are calling it a treasure trove. Others say it raises more questions than answers. But one thing is certain. Whatever Riley discovered was never meant to see the light of day. So why now? Why open the most private part of Graceland after all these years? And what did Riley Keough uncover in that forgotten basement that could change everything we thought we knew about Elvis? This is the story of a locked room, a powerful legacy, and the granddaughter who dared to look inside. Graceland isn't just a mansion, it's a shrine. Nestled in Memphis, Tennessee, this 13.8-acre estate became the heart of Elvis Presley's life, and after his death, a monument to his enduring fame. Purchased in 1957 for just over $100,000, the home was originally meant to be a peaceful retreat for Elvis and his family. But it became so much more, a symbol of success, excess, and ultimately, isolation. In life, Elvis ruled every inch of Graceland. He filled it with gold-plated fixtures, custom-built furniture, and bizarre-themed rooms that reflected his eclectic personality. The Jungle Room, with its Polynesian decor and shag carpets, is one of the most photographed spaces in the house. But not every room was for show. The upstairs area, including Elvis's bedroom and the hallway leading to his bathroom, has been closed to the public since his death. And even more hidden was the basement. While some areas of the basement were rumored to be used for television and music rooms, one specific section was locked away. Not boarded up or simply roped off, locked, and no one talked about it. When Graceland opened to the public in 1982, thousands of fans flocked to Memphis each year to walk the halls where Elvis once lived. But as they toured the mansion, a single question kept surfacing. What's behind the doors that remain closed? What are we not being allowed to see? That curiosity only grew over time. Fans began to trade theories online, ranging from the plausible to the outlandish. Some believed there were hidden recordings stashed in the basement. Others swore that Elvis had created a bomb-proof panic room during the Cold War. A few even whispered that the real reason the basement was locked was because Elvis never left it. But while theories swirled, the Presley family maintained a strict policy of silence. Lisa Marie Presley, Elvis's only daughter, inherited Graceland after his passing. She made one thing clear: certain rooms were off-limits, and they would stay that way. No one challenged that rule, until Riley. Riley Keough never asked to be the face of the Presley legacy. Born Danielle Riley Keough in 1989, she was thrust into fame by lineage alone. Her mother, Lisa Marie Presley, was the only child of Elvis and Priscilla. Her father, musician Danny Keough, came from a more modest background. Riley grew up split between two worlds, the opulence and chaos of the Presley name and the grounded artistic life of her father. Despite being born into music royalty, Riley didn't ride the family name into stardom. Instead, she quietly carved out her own path. Her acting debut in The Runaways alongside Kristen Stewart caught attention, but it was her breakout role in American Honey that proved she had serious talent. Over the years, she's worked with directors like Steven Soderbergh and George Miller, earning respect in the indie film circuit and beyond. But even as she built her own career, the shadow of Elvis loomed large. And in 2023, that shadow became unavoidable. Lisa Marie's sudden passing from cardiac arrest in January 2023 shocked the world. The grief was immediate and complicated. In the aftermath, a legal battle broke out over the control of Graceland and the Presley estate. At the center of it all stood Riley, now thrust into the position of sole trustee. Few expected her to take on the responsibility with such force. Even fewer expected what would come next. One of Riley's first private acts as executor was to quietly revisit Graceland, not for public appearances or tours, but to walk the halls in solitude. According to close sources, she spent hours in the house revisiting rooms from her childhood, talking with longtime staff members, and most importantly, asking questions. Questions that hadn't been asked in years. Questions about the basement, and just weeks after assuming control, Riley ordered the long-locked section of Graceland's basement to be opened. Opening the basement wasn't as simple as turning a key. The door itself was reinforced, reportedly with steel backing and an old mechanical lock that hadn't been used since the late 70s. According to internal Graceland sources who spoke anonymously, it took a professional team several hours to access the room without damaging its contents. Dust, humidity, and decades of isolation had taken their toll. But when they finally opened the door, what lay inside was shocking. The first impression was sensory overload. The room was dimly lit by an old hanging light bulb. Thick cobwebs clung to the corners of the ceiling. Crates, filing cabinets, and boxes lined the walls, stacked with handwritten labels in Elvis's unmistakable scrawl. Some labels were cryptic: private tapes, personal, and don't touch. EP! At the center of the room stood a dusty, leather-bound chair and a reel-to-reel tape recorder still wired to a nearby shelf. Riley, accompanied only by one trusted estate archivist and a security staff member, entered the room quietly. The air was thick, emotionally and literally. It was clear this space had been a personal vault, a sanctuary Elvis himself had designed to keep certain parts of his life far from the public eye. But what were these tapes? What was he trying to protect? Over the next several days, Riley and the estate team began cataloging the contents. What they found would raise questions that the Presley family had managed to avoid for nearly 5 decades. Dozens of tapes. Hundreds of pages of handwritten lyrics, unseen photos, letters, some from Priscilla, some from unnamed women, and even a few addressed simply, "To my son." Then came the real bombshell. A thick leather notebook labeled "The Plan." The plan? That was the label on the notebook Riley found among the basement archives. It was heavy, old, and surprisingly intact. Inside, the pages were covered in Elvis's writing, some in his smooth cursive, others rushed and frantic. It appeared to be a combination of journal entries, checklists, and diagrams. At first glance, it read like the notes of a paranoid genius. Entries referenced hidden bank accounts, alternate travel identities, and detailed lists of medications, some of which were not available publicly in the 1970s. There were references to conversations with doctors, lawyers, and spiritual advisors. Several pages contained what appeared to be rough sketches of underground rooms, possibly parts of Graceland itself. One phrase kept repeating in variations across different pages. "They can't own me if I disappear." Was this the rambling of a man overwhelmed by fame, or the genuine blueprint of a man planning his own vanishing act? This section of the basement, and the plan, fed straight into the oldest and most persistent Elvis conspiracy theory, that he faked his own death in 1977 to escape the pressures of stardom, debt, and surveillance. It's a theory many have mocked over the years, but seeing Elvis's own words, in his own handwriting, lent a chilling plausibility to something that once felt like tabloid fantasy. Riley didn't jump to conclusions. She contacted a handwriting analyst to confirm the journal's authenticity. Within days, they verified it. The notes were definitely Elvis Presley's. This wasn't the only surprise. Hidden beneath a floorboard near the chair, the team uncovered a box labeled Sunrise 85. Inside, rolls of undeveloped film, a passport under the name Aaron B. West, and a key to a storage locker in Tupelo, Mississippi. Was this a trail Elvis left for someone to follow? Or was it all part of an elaborate fantasy he never got to act on? Riley was now sitting on a historical bombshell, one that could shake the mythos of her grandfather forever, and she wasn't done uncovering secrets. Before Riley ever opened the basement, her mother, Lisa Marie Presley, had quietly battled with the weight of her father's legacy for decades. While the world saw her as the heir to Graceland and the Presley fortune, few understood just how complicated and painful that role had become. Lisa Marie inherited the estate at just 25 years old. While Graceland was a symbol of Elvis's greatness, it was also a monument to the pressures and tragedies that surrounded him. Behind the gates, Lisa dealt with the ghosts of a family both revered and tormented by the spotlight. She often spoke about how surreal it felt to grow up in a place where tourists visited the home she lived in. Imagine playing with dolls in the same hallway where fans lined up to mourn your father. The media painted her as rebellious and unpredictable. Her marriages to Michael Jackson and later Nicolas Cage only fueled that perception. But those closest to her said Lisa was constantly searching for something stable, something real. She'd lost her father at 9 years old. Then her mother remarried. Fame followed her like a curse, not a blessing. Over the years, Lisa Marie spoke publicly about her deep spiritual connection to her father. She often said she felt his presence at Graceland and even claimed to receive signs from him, songs on the radio, unexplained lights flickering in certain rooms. She believed that Elvis's spirit never truly left. Privately, Lisa Marie was more skeptical. According to a close family friend, Lisa once confessed that she believed her father had secrets, possibly even a plan to vanish. She never stated it outright, but she'd referenced journals, storage lockers, and letters you wouldn't believe. When pressed, she would just smile and say, "Some things are better left buried." That makes what Riley found all the more haunting. If Lisa knew about the plan, why didn't she open the basement herself? The answer may lie in Lisa Marie's final years. Financial stress, custody battles, and prescription struggles had taken their toll. Despite the Presley brand, the estate had faced mounting challenges. Graceland was still a pilgrimage site, but the income wasn't what it used to be. And Lisa was losing control of parts of the business. Perhaps she didn't have the strength to face what might lie below. Or maybe she believed some mysteries were better kept sealed. But Riley, stronger, younger, and with a perspective shaped by modern fame, was willing to confront the family's past head-on. And what she did next would send shockwaves through the Elvis community. When Riley discovered the undeveloped film marked Sunrise 85, she immediately sent it to a secure lab under a different name. She didn't want leaks or press interference before she could confirm what the film held. What developed left her speechless. The photos were grainy but unmistakable. A man who looked identical to Elvis Presley, only older, sitting outside a modest cabin in rural Mississippi. In some shots, he's reading a newspaper. In others, he's walking a black Labrador through a wooded area. The timestamps and markings on the film stock confirmed the rolls were manufactured in 1984 and processed in 1985. No digital trickery, no forgeries. These were real. The key found alongside the film led Riley to a storage unit in Tupelo, Mississippi, Elvis's birthplace. What she found inside was even more bizarre. There was a duffel bag filled with 1980s clothing, a few notebooks with more cryptic writing, and most shocking of all, a voice recorder. On the tape, a male voice, deep and unmistakably Southern, reciting a journal entry. "I did what I had to do. They would have destroyed me one way or another. This was the only path left." Forensic analysts later compared the voice to archived interviews of Elvis Presley. While not conclusive, multiple experts rated the match at over 90% probability. Became undeniable. Had Elvis actually faked his death? And if so, how had he pulled it off? The implications were staggering. It wasn't just about a celebrity escaping fame. It was about rewriting American cultural history. And Riley wasn't interested in letting this disappear into another conspiracy thread. She had a decision to make. For weeks, Riley wrestled with what to do. Going public with her findings would make headlines around the globe, but it could also invite ridicule, legal consequences, and emotional backlash from fans, historians, and even her own family. She spoke with lawyers, publicists, and close friends. Most advised against revealing anything too definitive. One advisor put it bluntly, Even if it's real, the world won't accept it. They'll call you crazy. But Riley wasn't trying to start a tabloid frenzy. She was trying to understand her grandfather, the man behind the myth. And more importantly, she wanted to preserve the truth, not exploit it. Instead of a press conference or a Netflix docuseries, she made a different choice. She began quietly curating the material with a team of trusted archivists. Every photo, tape, and letter was digitized and sealed in a private archive housed in Graceland itself. Visitors wouldn't see these items on public tours. Not yet. But in the future? That's another story. Meanwhile, rumors began to circulate. A few insiders leaked whispers of Riley's discovery to fan sites. Articles started popping up online about new evidence and secret rooms in Graceland. Most dismissed them as hoaxes, but those close to Riley say she's not done yet. In interviews, she's hinted at stories that deserve to be told, and the possibility of a book or film project exploring her grandfather's more mysterious side. Riley's handling of the situation showed remarkable maturity. She didn't sensationalize it, she didn't cash in. She honored the legacy while still embracing the mystery, and whether or not she eventually confirms Elvis's fate publicly, she's already changed the Presley legacy forever. The initial discovery, Riley returned to the basement one final time. This time, she was alone. One of the workers had discovered a false panel behind one of the filing cabinets, a hidden alcove, possibly missed even by Lisa Marie. Behind it was a small chest locked with a rusted clasp. Inside, a single cassette tape marked "For Her." Riley played the tape later that evening. The voice on the recording was soft, slower than the Elvis most people remembered, but deeply emotional. "If you're hearing this, you're not just my granddaughter. You're my proof. Proof that life doesn't stop when the cameras turn off. That maybe, just maybe, I found a way to live beyond all of it. I don't know if you'll ever understand why I did what I did, but if you're anything like your mama, you already know the truth in your bones. Keep this safe. Tell the story when you're ready." For Riley, that moment was beyond surreal. It was like reaching through time, hearing from a man the world said was long gone. It confirmed what she already suspected. Whether or not Elvis physically walked away from the world in 1977, he left something behind, something only she could uncover. Riley Keough didn't ask to be the torchbearer for the Presley family, but through loss, mystery, and rediscovery, she's become just that. What started as grief over her mother's passing led her into a hidden world, one Elvis tried to bury, and one the world never expected to see. In the end, Riley didn't just inherit Graceland. She inherited a legacy of secrets, silence, and resilience. Her decisions may shape how future generations remember the king of rock and roll, not just as a performer, but as a man caught between two lives. Was Elvis planning to disappear all along? Did he succeed? That may remain a mystery forever. But one thing is certain, the story of Elvis Presley is far from over.